no children are thinking about sex. No children are thinking about having sex. It's not just clicking in their head. They either saw it happen, somebody told them it happened, and then they proceeded further. But I'm not saying it's our fault. That's why I'm not angry, and I don't think I ever was angry, because I understood that earlier on, that before I forgot it, because I did not want to deal with any more trauma. I not just made a podcast episode, but I made a podcast episode with Travis about mental health and me dealing with sexual assault at a young age, way younger than that. Way younger. When I was still in California, I had dealt with sexual assault. And when I came here, I guess I was just numb to it all. And I decided to just forget that too. Okay, you guys, so I think I just need to, when I said it before, I mentioned it on the podcast, moments of pausing is really important, because I will create a podcast episode and a lot of the times it's based on purely emotions, and I can find myself resisting and being willing to understand other people's perspectives because of my own emotions. Recently, I was just like, I literally made a podcast episode and I just had to stop it midway because I was like, this is not the right intentions. This is not what I want to carry through this podcast. But I was talking about the beginning. So let me do the intro first and let me get down to what we're going to discuss. And I'm going to tell you why I had to get rid of the other one. Welcome back to NTheRealestWay Podcast by Marqes Smith, where we talk about so many topics in the realest way. On this podcast episode, we're going to discuss the importance of you're enough. You're worth it. And in the previous podcast episode, we talked about nothing is too important in regards to your mental health, your physical and your spiritual. Nothing is too important when you find yourself having to question whether you should suffer or you should pause and reevaluate what we're doing. And I created the episode before, like I said, and I stopped it midway because I was truly becoming upset because I was talking about the political climate that we live in right now and how there's just so much that is going on that we shouldn't be having a conversation about. And once I get to a moment when I'm speaking and I'm not actually thinking, I'm just speaking, that's when I have to just stop myself. Because everything I do on this podcast, it needs to be intentional. And one thing I remembered about Maya Angelou, she was talking to Oprah Winfrey, I believe, on an interview, and she was like, oh, maybe it wasn't Oprah Winfrey, but it was somebody. And she said, to fully be aware of who you are in the moment and take all of who you are everywhere you go, bring you everywhere you go, and leave with yourself every time, all of who you are, every single time. And then the interviewer said, well, a lot of people may, and I don't think you mean this, she said, but a lot of people may think that you're saying to just be selfish. She said, no, not to take, but to give. Give all of myself is what I mean. To give all of what I am. There's a difference of people asking you, and not even asking you, but expecting you to just give, and they take. And there's a difference of, oh, I understand who you are. This is what I bring. This is what you bring. And now it's a beneficial. It may not be as beneficial. It may not be okay, I'm giving you something and you're giving me something as terms of physical, but it could be spiritual. It's anything. But there's a lot that we have to think about and question. Some things, you don't need to have a conversation about. Humanity, people living, there should be no conversation. There should be no percentage. There should be no, well, let's look back 2,000 years ago and think about what this country did up this time. And let's stop. Okay. It's not what's going to save people. We're living right now. This is what's going on right now. This is what's affecting us right now. Nothing is too important. That podcast episode highlights that nothing is too important when it comes to our lives. There's no need for a conversation. There's no need for a debate. There's no need for us to sit down and look at these different Democratic parties and Republican parties, and they're all debating about, well, this is what we need to do. There just needs to be change. And it won't be any change until we get to a true acknowledgement with the community of people, with the world, of being tired of life going the way that it's going. That's the only way. So I'm going to get deeper into the conversation about why nothing is too important is in regards to you're important enough. Because I was talking to somebody who was on my podcast episode before, and I asked him, what do you think I mean when I say nothing is too important? And like, I assumed a lot of people thought, he assumed in his own way that none of this matters. And he said, well, I'm not saying that, but there's a difference between the two. There is truly a difference between the two. Nothing is too important means that when you look at your own value and you see what you bring and who you are, is it being acknowledged and respected? Nothing is too important to you when it comes to your self-worth. None of this matters means you've already thrown in the towel. You are ready to clock out. Even if you did clock in, you didn't probably even start. This probably just, you looked at it and said, okay, I'm done. None of this matters. Let me just give up on life. Let me just give up on humanity. That's what it means. But truly asking yourself these questions, and what are we bringing to the world, and what are we bringing to ourselves? You're important enough is just me remembering who I was before and everything of who I am right now. Okay? I first want to talk about the connections that I made. Up in high school, I made a lot of connections. I mean, I knew a lot of people, and I always knew, because I paid attention, that I could find myself more so relating to a lot of people, and it being vice versa, of them understanding me and me understanding them. I always was able to have grace and understanding a lot of the times. I wasn't in a judgmental state of you do this and you do that, and I just thought about something that's crazy. Oh my goodness. We're going to get into it. We're really going to get into it. But I've made a lot of connections, and I'm going to talk about the two things about how people use that to bring me up and, make me see my worth. And then I'm going to talk about how a lot of people will see your worth and try to exploit it and use it for their own advantages. Because a lot of people will do that. They will see your worth and they will say, I see what you have, and I may not be able to make it my own, but I will use you to benefit me. Like I said, I made amazing connections with people. I made beautiful connections, and I was truly a person where a lot of people could come to have a conversation. A lot of people could relate to who I was, and I didn't realize it at the time, because I was just living life and just trying to be as real as I could be in the moments. I didn't have time to think about, oh, well, how is this person thinking about me? And what does this person think about me? I didn't have time to question it. And it made a lot of people, they felt threatened. The people who weren't inspired by me, or who wanted to have a connection with me, and, oh, I want, some form of a conversation to understand each other, they were threatened, and they did things to stop me from having so much access to the world and the people that were around me. I wasn't just Smith is a nerd, so he's gonna hang with the nerds. No, I was with I was with all kinds of people. I did a lot of things in high school. I wasn't just this one person who just decided to stay with what society has wanted us to believe, that you got to be over here or over there. You can't be in different places. No, I want to be all of what I can be. That's what God wants us to do, to allow ourselves to not put us in a box. Because again, we can relate it back to previous podcast episodes of, we want to just put ourselves in positions of just, I can't do this, or I'm not good enough to do that, or I'm only good at this. And that's not the case. As we live, I implore anybody to just go out and do things, because you never know what you actually want to do until you try, until you understand yourself. Nobody just wakes up and just decides that, I'm just going to do this for the rest of my life and this is my calling. No, they go out and they do something like, okay, well, I thought I wanted to be a teacher when I was younger. Actually, when I was really young, I wanted to be a veterinarian. I had an amazing teacher. I was really young. I had an amazing teacher. And before I left California to go to Georgia, I remember her giving me this book, and it was about, just veterinarian, like dogs and stuff. But I grew up and I learned that that's not what I want. I love animals, but baby, I'm not going to walk up to every animal I see and pet them. I'm not saying that's what veterinarians do, but I'm not taking no chances, honey. I'm not finna get nobbled up and gobbled up, honey. Okay. That's their business. That's not my business. Okay. I grew and I learned that who I was before wasn't who I am right now. And like I said, a lot of people didn't like that I was able to find myself in different positions. And I allowed myself to not just be this one thing, this one person. So I found myself in a lot of conflicts of resisting other people, and it's easy for a lot of people to see me as an issue because of the way I look at the world, the way I show myself, and what I'm willing to fight for. Forever and ever, the longest I can remember, I've always had a clear mind of what, even without fully knowing, I always had a clear mind about what I was doing. And I was never the person to just sit by and just let life just happen. And even if something wasn't being done to me and to other people, I always spoke up, or at least tried to be the best person I could be. But it was a lesson that it was hard sometimes, especially when people see you as a aggressive person, or a person who doesn't know what they're talking about and they're just angry all the time. I didn't want to be that kind of person. I didn't want to be that person. So up until now, and now I'm able to take these perspectives and even then just not allow it to overcome me, to receive what other people are saying, but not allow it to be who I am. Because I'm not the angry person that people wanted me to be, or he's difficult and he just wants to just be this resistance. A lot of people looked at me like I was resistance. Mm. Okay. So let's further the conversation about people seeing your worth and the good and the bad. I want to talk about, let's end it with the good, so let's start with the bad, right? A lot of the times people see our worth before we can see our worth. And there's a decision that they make in their head about, am I going to be jealous of this person and their potential? Or am I going to help this person find their potential? Not just for the benefit of me, but for the benefit of them. That's when we question about people's intentions, it really goes to, are they willing to do this? Are they willing to go out of their way for other people? And doesn't say that you not doing that makes you a bad person, but really think about it. Because there's been moments when I've been truly blessed to have people who went out of their way just because. And they helped me understand who I was. But then there's the people who, they see who you are and they decide to exploit it. All throughout my high school, I was exploited. Okay, people used me. A lot of people, and most of the time it wasn't children, it was the adults. They saw me as a person who could do a lot of things. And it's not about how Smith feels. I would stay after school till 8 o'clock at night sometimes, 7 o'clock. Because I was over here, I was doing this, I was doing that. And I wanted to do some of these things, right? It wasn't just them pushing me to do it, but nobody really ever asked me, truly, was I okay? I was just forced to keep going, and it was expected of me at some point. I fell into a position and it was expected of me. So when I felt like I couldn't give anymore and I was already put in positions of higher demand, of expecting more out of me, I was around peers who saw me and they were like, okay, I see Smith and he's getting all of this attention and he's being expected to do all of this and all of that. And it's like, well, I want that. I want to be I want to have what he has. A lot of people told me later on that they thought I was stuck up. They thought I was just better than everybody else. And what I thought they said, like they truly believed that I thought that I was better than everybody else because I was put in positions of higher demand and I had no control over it, that I had to produce outcomes for other people. So when I was around my peers, they expected me to not make mistakes. And you know how mentally draining and exhausting that is? Think about that in your life. Has there ever been a moment when you were just doing something and people expected you to have a certain level of proficiency every time? You can't make mistakes. You can't have, days where you're not perfect. You got to be on your game all the time. That is something that was really difficult for me to push past, because I had the people who put me in these positions expecting an outcome from me. But then I had people of my level, of my peers, who have the same, they wanted the same outcome too. Because that's what I presented myself as, because I felt like in the moment I had no choice. To just give up on everything that I had. If I was to remove myself from the equation, the whole thing would have fumbled and destroyed itself. And even now, I would probably still not be able to, I don't think I would be able to push past it, to say that, okay, I'm okay with removing myself. And then if it falls apart, it falls apart, because nothing is too important for my mental, for how I truly feel. I went through tough times before I came into the military. And even now, because I still want to be a people pleaser. I want people to understand me. So when I first came to Georgia from California, my grandma took us to the library a lot. A lot. We would spend our time in the library reading books or playing on the computer. I remember the games that they had on the computer. I was truly happy there. And that's when, I wouldn't say it was, of course, it's a worth thing of knowing who I am and knowing my experiences. But I'm just gonna go right into it. I knew this one girl. I'm not gonna say her name, right? Because even though it's about how I feel and what I went through, I'm not interested in attacking people, right? I already forgave them. If I didn't, I didn't, but I chose to forgive them. I'm still choosing every day to have patience with myself, because I didn't even, when I have this conversation and I had paused earlier on in the podcast and said, I'm going to get to this, it hit me and I had to just stop. And I was thinking like, I can't believe I forgot that this happened. So it wasn't just a library, right? They had a lot of events in a small room. Like you would walk in, there were two doors, I believe. One door that was from the parking lot and another door from the side. It was a side door to the library. And you would go each direction, but you would find yourself where there was a door right there. And it was a room where they had a TV, and it was just for for activities that they have for the children. And I don't know which way or how it started. I'm not trying to say anything about her. I don't know what she went through when she was younger and what she experienced, to where she thought it was okay to do what she did, because when we're children, no children are thinking about sex. No children are thinking about having sex. It's not just clicking in their head. They either saw it happen, somebody told them it happened, and then they proceeded further. But I'm not saying it's our fault. That's why I'm not angry, and I don't think I ever was angry, because I understood that earlier on, that before I forgot it, because I did not want to deal with any more trauma. I not just made a podcast episode, but I made a podcast episode with Travis about mental health and me dealing with sexual assault at a young age, way younger than that. Way younger, when I was still in California, I had dealt with sexual assault. And when I came here, I guess I was just numb to it all. And I decided to just forget that too. But I don't blame her. I don't wish her any bad. I hope she's very successful. I still see her on my social media. I wish her nothing but the best. And I pray that whatever she's been going through and whatever she's going through, that she heals and she becomes a better person from it. It's been years now. It's been years, but I really hope that everything is okay. But I don't know why randomly she would just lure me into them rooms. And anyway, a lot happened when I was younger. A lot happened that was more so out of my control, because I didn't know I knew what was right or wrong, but I didn't know truly. Does that make sense? Okay, well, this doesn't feel right, but I don't know if me saying something would matter, or I don't know if me speaking about this is important enough. Because when we're younger, a lot of the times we feel like our feelings don't matter. So we don't usually say anything. And then when we do say something, it's like, okay, well, why are you yelling at me? Now you're being disrespectful. It's like, we don't know what people are going through until we truly ask them what is going on. And I just thought about that, because that was just another moment of somebody just exploiting me and using me for their own benefit. So there's been a lot of times, and you can think about these moments in your life where somebody decided to come in and say, oh, I see who you are. I see your worth, and I'm going to decide to use it for my benefit, regardless of how it affects you. It could hurt you. It could benefit you. I don't really give it. They don't care. So just pay attention and create safe environments for not just you, but for other people. When you see things like this happening, it doesn't have to be about sexual assault either. It can just be about anything. Create safe spaces for not just you, but for other people too, because we never know what they're going through. I think that's why I was so willing to have conversations with different people when I was younger, and even till now. I'm not stuck in a way of, oh, these are my people and that's just where I'm going to go. I think that a lot of people are my people. Like I am a part of different types of communities, and I'm okay with that. And I want that. I want to be a part of a lot more. But yeah, just creating safe spaces is really, really important. It really is. So now when we move to the positivity, the people seeing you, there's been moments when a lot of people saw who I was. They saw my worth, and they decided to show me who I was, and not just, exploit me. I can think about one teacher, Miss Graham, who, no matter what was going on, no matter what I was dealing with, always had some grace, and I could truly rely on her to help me. And there's been moments with a lot of people where at first I thought it was good intentions, and then it turned out to be, not as good intentions. But we're all human. I don't want to be angry at anybody anymore. I don't want to be mad about how other people decided to move, because I know that we're all going through life as an experience. I don't want to be angry and mad anymore about those things. There's a lot to be angry about, but I want it to be, with any of my emotions and how I'm feeling, to be intentional. I don't want to just be mad. I have the right to feel how I feel, but I don't want to be just angry all the time. Because who does it benefit? It's not helping me. It's not helping me. So let's go. Let's get into it with a higher note of just moving into a place of healing. Because there's been moments of people seeing me for my worth and having inspiration from it. I was in the band, and I had people who had expectations of me, but they were of positivity. They saw me and they were like, oh, I want to be like him. And you don't know this until he told me, because at first I had some jealousy within me. I was a more or less good player, and there were moments when I had solos or something, and one person was playing my solo at one point, and I was like, okay, well, can I do my solo, please? This is my solo. Okay. You don't got to come over here and I know you're a good soloist. You are literally probably the best soloist ever that I've ever heard play. Truly. Right. He's one of my peers. He was younger than me. We were all in the same band program, and I was just like so envious. Not truly. Like, I was like, oh my goodness, I'm going to make you suffer. But I was like, oh my goodness, like, let somebody else have a time, honey. Let me shine a little bit too. And there was one time when he just got irritated by my response and was like, I didn't learn this from myself. I learned it from you. I got this ability to solo and play my instrument from you. I learned how to play from you. So I'm sitting here mad at homeboy for being better than me. He got his ability to play the solo and the courage to do it from me. So it's all about, what are we doing it? How are we thinking about it? Because imagine if I would have just had grace and had a conversation with, you know what? You are a really good player, and he would be like, I got it from you. And then it would be like, okay, well, you've done more than what I've done. So Teach me something. Let me learn something. There's a grace about that. There's a willingness to, you're not better. You're not better than anybody. I'm not better than anybody. There were moments when I felt challenged too, because I was being fed, you're this, you're that, you have to be this for other people, that when my position was being threatened, I got on the receiving end of, okay, well, now I'm going to protect myself in what I've cultivated, which was nothing but lies and unhealthy expectations, which I should have just released. I should have just let it go. And that's what this one is about. You're important enough that nothing is too important. Okay? If I could have went back, I probably would have decided to never go as hard as I did before, because the people that were in those positions decided to make it that environment. I could have decided to just do it for fun instead of being so competitive about it, to where I really damaged myself for a long time. But I'm taking these experiences as moments of healing, moments of choosing to heal, and not allow it to break me down as much as it did before, and to use the breaking point to build myself back up anew. I would have never thought that he got his inspiration from me. But if I was able to pause and not allow myself to be just filled with the feeling of just everything that I created to be taken away from me, maybe I would have never made him feel the way I made him feel. Maybe I could have went through it in a better way, a healthier way. Oh my goodness. I just had to sit for a moment. I had to think for a moment. Just about my life and how far I've come. And through all of this, about what I talked about, because it got deep at some point. We said a lot of things. I said a lot of things about the importance of that. But throughout all of these experiences, be willing to take time for yourself. Be willing to understand yourself. And even if you backslide and you don't fully show up the way you want to show up for yourself and for other people, be patient. Don't allow it to break you down and tell you that you're not important, because you are. No matter what nobody else tells you, I see you. I love you. You matter. And just take that time to heal yourself, to learn yourself. If you got to read some books to do it, read some books. If you got to write in your journal, write in your journal. If you got to sing, sing your heart out. But whatever you do, please allow yourself time to just gather all of who you are and just really be in that moment. I've just now started to do this. For the longest time, I've never had time to just pause. I've always been constantly going and going and going, never really truly ever taking a break. I'm going to be on a break. I'm going to be on a season of just rest for a little bit. And I'm so looking forward to it. I want to understand myself more. If you think you've reached the level of knowing who you are, you haven't even come close. It will take a long time for us to ever really find out who we are. And it won't be in this lifetime. There's so much about us that we don't even know yet. And I'm graciously awaiting for that time to happen. I'm waiting to just, okay, I didn't know this about myself. I cannot wait for this vacation of just rest, of just peace. So I don't know how this podcast is going to be. I don't know how it's going to sound. I feel like it was kind of, I wouldn't say it was random, but I just said a lot in this podcast. A lot just needed to be said, more than what I thought it needed, because I didn't know I was going to talk about what I talked about the sexual assault and just the experiences that I dealt with. I didn't think I was going to speak about that until it just presented itself in front of me. And I don't want to take anything and just be like, okay, well, I'm not going to use this in the moment of what it could be used for, because you never know what else somebody else needs. So I just want to say thank you to everybody who's being patient with me through this time. And like I say at the end of every podcast episode, I give thanks to the utmost, to the highest power, God. I'm thankful for my friends and my family. I am truly, truly grateful. This is the Realest Way Podcast. Out.